So, thank you so much for joining me today, Teresa. And what we're going to be talking about is the women's retreat and some of the coaching that I've been lucky enough to do with you. What is the problem that you most wanted to solve when you first started working with me?
Well, multitude of problems because if you have one, suddenly you realize there are many layers to that, and they're all connected. And I am. I've been looking for a new career and doing a 180 from the life that I was born into, family expectations, career expectations, and I have been searching for the past year and a half, 2 years for a coach who could help me understand who I am, what my gifts are, be able to stand strong in those gifts. And from there, once I'm in that level of awareness, I will know what I want to do, what I'm meant to do, what I need to do in order for this soul to be fulfilled in this body. So, but specifically for this workshop, it was all about timing. Um, the timing was just perfect for where I am in self development, but also having it coincide with the real new year, the spring equinox, and have it based on something real and from a multicultural, spiritual arena. It was just perfect timing. So if
So,
you had come around a year ago, I wouldn't have done it.
what did your life look like before that timing became appropriate?
I was lost in chaos in every aspect of my life. And I've been studying self development, self realization, leadership for 20 years. And nothing, well, things sunk in, but I wasn't ready, and I, my life was pretty much a disaster in every aspect: an unfulfilling career, a cantankerous marriage. My soul wasn't being fulfilled. Financial issues. Just not living up to my own expectations, I guess, in all facets of my life. So that brought a lot of chaos, and a lot of poor communication and miscommunication, and um, my boundaries. I had none. I was completely broken down with yes, ma'am, yes, sir, I can do it, and that has completely changed and dissolved um, since the workshop retreat. So yeah,
Right.
just amazing.
So, what made you choose to work with me?
Well, one of my closest friends has been working with you what seems like 3 years. It might only be a year. I don't know, something like that. I've been hearing about her experience with you on almost a daily level, some weeks. And I'm like, this is fascinating because my friend Kathy has completely different need in business coaching than I do. And she's at a different level in her business development and career. But I've enjoyed hearing the tidbits going, oh, this is great. This is great. Um, so I've enjoyed all the experiences, and then you set up the once a month coffee group this year, and I didn't get to many, but I did get to some. And, it opened up this, I've been on Zoom meetings like everyone has a billion gajillion times, but having a meeting specifically for spirituality and people to come forward as that is their platform and not an underlying agenda was just like, this is great. Coffee with spirit peeps. So I did not know that the last Friday was the last Friday. And I'm like, I have to log in. I have to log in. It was the last Friday. And Janine, before you even posted the program, before you even knew what you were doing, all I knew there was a program coming and I'm signing up for it. It has to be less than $8,000. It has to be. Other coaches I've looked at, I mean, that's what it was, but it just wasn't right for me, not the right fit. Um, so I'm like, so I just signed up. I'm like, I don't know, I don't care how much it costs. I need this right now for me, and I need this. So I just did it, and I was hoping it'd be a small group. I was selfish, um, but yes, I was just ecstatic that it was a small group and we all know each other and in some aspect or another. And it's one of the best things I've done for myself.
I'm very happy for you that you've been able to pull this out. You've been able to really change your life. So, if you don't mind helping me out too, what have been the greatest benefits for you after the workshop?
Oh, wow. My communication level with myself, my internal dialogue has completely changed. Um, Instead of going down the rabbit hole that's really familiar of no, you can't do it and don't even try. It's like that negative, my self-talk changed and my communication with myself changed. So I was able to communicate with everyone else what I want, what I need. So my self-talk and communication with myself, I'm able to communicate better with other people in difficult situations that in the past have been very hostile and aggressive. And I just shut down and not able to even say, hey, I just shut down because, or even better, when it's a difficult situation and I'm able to calmly and rationally explain what's going on instead of being a hyper nervous mess. So, and a lot of that has to do with imagery, taking, I'm a very, I think too much, right? My brain's always going, and the workshop helped me take what's going on in my brain with words and numbers and lists, took me out of that brain set and got me using images instead. And a picture has 1,000 words. So instead of, I was able to turn off my brain and go more into an image world where I was able to unravel what was really at the root of my anger, frustration, disappointment, sadness. So it's really expanded my vocabulary a lot. And I'm a much better communicator. I have not blown up once since the workshop. I'm able to I learned how to take more time for me, even if it's just 5 minutes. Some of the meditations, the Jungian shadow meditation, which I call the Jungian shadow show. It's a show, it's my show. Got my little tiki bar on my beach. I got my people, got my couch. So that, in itself is marvelous, because I kind of learned that whatever was subconsciously bothering me, that was what was going to come out of my bag. And that's what I needed to address, whether it made sense or not. So that has been incredibly helpful. Understanding of cultures and how they view the natural elements. I mean, you've done a beautiful job of explaining on a global level and then on a personal level at the same time of your path, your story. So that, and you linked it all spiritually, that helped me find the pathway for me to begin to tell my story, just listening to yours. So that was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. The medicine wheel and the medicine wheel. I mean, you hear about them, they're there. And you answered a lot of my questions because I always knew they were sacred. I knew there were many different types, and I knew I needed to enter with respect. And the people around me frequently couldn't answer my questions, but you answered all my questions and gave me a new insight of how cultures around the world throughout time have used the medicine wheel in one way or another. So a whole new way of me looking at life. The vision board aspect I've been working on for 10 years, literally 10 years, and wasn't able to create anything in the past because I was not living for myself. I had too many expectations of what people wanted to see on my board and then having to explain it. So I was completely blocked. And I had no idea the vision board was happening. I had no clue what we were doing on this workshop. And it was kind of nice because we just, rolled with the punches, and it was awesome. Yeah, so I think I was talking about the medicine wheel, but understanding that has helped me understand so many other things. So I appreciate it. Oh, another thing, vocabulary. I learned vocabulary that explained my gifts, my natural gifts that I've had since birth that I don't have the words for. I can look at you and show you in feeling, but did not have a vocabulary. Not that I remember them because they were fancy words, but I know that it gave me a whole new list of words for me to be able to identify with myself, that I can communicate with others. And if they don't understand that word, that's fine. They just know I'm special.
clairvoyant, clairaudient,
The
clairsentient.
clairs,
You're all
the
those
clairs,
things.
the clairs, the clairs, the clairs. Yeah, yeah. So in the books that you recommended, I have a couple of them, and I'm leafing through them. So that's awesome. That was awesome to get some reading referrals. So a lot of blocks were just lifted over that weekend. So
Mhm.
so if it had not been intense over a 3-day thing, I would have flaked off. I would not have done it. I would have not have pushed myself to go deeper.
Right. It is. It is about going deeper. So, if you don't mind sharing, what was it like working on those various aspects? What was it like working with me over that weekend?
The group was the right group for me to be able to really open up about long-term repetitive either questions or habits or it, it the space allowed me to be vulnerable, and which is hard to do. It's very, very hard to do.
What was it like working with me during
With
that
you,
weekend?
it was like having a college professor who knew everything about what I wanted to know about, talking to me about it in a logical order for my brain to digest and understand. A lot of the information was familiar to me, but I knew like this tiny bit, and now I know that much more. And that's all I needed to really put some pieces together. So the way the program was set up, it was at least the curriculum part of it flowed perfectly for my brain to settle down and listen, hear, and understand all these things that I've been looking at and interested in throughout my life. And it's like, here we go. Let's talk about it. So you also gave us a platform where we could ask questions and say, hey, hold the phone, like back that up, like give us more information. And there were breaks during the program, so you weren't just sitting there for 1,000 hours. And you kind of left us hanging with questions. So when we come back from a break, we would know what we could ask you, what we needed to ask you. And at the end of every session, you're like, okay, big time for questions. We're sitting here and I'm going to answer questions. And, if we had gone past the time of the end of the session, you probably would have stayed on to help us continue unraveling our questions and understanding of the process of the workshop. It was very flexible and not rigid. And it's not like, all right, you get 15 minutes, go do your homework. It was, hey, whatever you want to do, but you could do this. So yeah. Okay.
Cool. Basically, you were invited to do things. You were not required. And that's
Exactly.
a big thing when you're doing
Right.
that kind of work. Mhm.
Right. Yeah. So it churned up a lot of things working inside of me, but that gave me a platform to let them go and to literally see them dissolve before my eyes. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
So if someone calls you up and say, "Hey, what's it like to do business with Janine?" What do you tell them?
it's very entertaining. You're going to learn a lot about a lot of things. And there's more than one road you can take to get to the same destination. Um, so, we all have ideas and thoughts and pathways that make sense to us, but when you bounce them off a brain like Janine's, like yours, suddenly all these different avenues open up of different possibilities that you know you didn't know were there to begin with. So you also build confidence, no matter where I am or wherever I assume other people are. You build the confidence where the person is, where they are right now, and because we're all on different levels of understanding and processing and developing our businesses. So I appreciate that in the same conversation that you're having with a group meeting online with the newbies like me or the advanced people who've been with you for years, you speak to all of us. So the communication is just outstanding. So and your ability to explain over and over again in different ways until we get it. Yes.
That's that college professor in me. It's
It
my
is.
job.
It
It's
is.
my job to change the content in the presentation until the student gets it. As
Yep.
long as the student
Yep.
hangs with me, I am there to make sure they get the content they need to
And
move
I
forward.
and I used to make PowerPoints for college professors, so that was part of my career for a while. I really enjoyed that part. So,
Yeah.
oh, this lady's she's doing it. She's doing it. She's got it. And you give us access to the presentations. You give us access to the slides, so we can go back and review anytime, I think,
Yes.
which is great.
Mhm.
Which is
Yep.
great. There isn't a time limit. So it's like continuing education all over again. I was really thankful it was a virtual experience. That way I could have my private time to process, and no one else had to witness or help me. It's like I had carved out sacred space for myself that weekend during the day with you, and then in the evening time for me. And it really started a trend in my life that self-care is so important. I no longer can put my needs on the back burner, and I got to go for me. So, learning boundaries, learning how to stand up for my boundaries. That's what has helped me so much with my communication. Um, so it's okay to have boundaries. So uh, it's absolutely a-okay. Um, the whole calendar concept is, I've heard about it, but I'm like seeing it in black and white and all colory on the presentation. I'm like, wow, I have something to aspire to. So some aspects of this particular workshop I was ready to dive into, but the other aspects, I'm like, I'll get to that calendar someday. Like someday. But learning how to set boundaries with my friends, at least verbally, in the time being, win-win.
That gave you some strength to be able to
Yeah,
work with that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so you're talking about the price point earlier. Hear my brain. Here we go. So the price point was spot on. I would have paid more. Um, but I loved it that the sessions were $333 each day.
Yep.
So the price, yeah, but the price point was spot on. Other coaches on your level, Janine, 2,500, $8,000. And I'm like, I just couldn't work with them at that time. Someday I'll get there with my finances. I can afford you when you cost that much.
Right. But not at this
Not this
time.
time. It was worth every penny.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Theresa.